Welcome to WBC's webinar on personal branding tips to make your online presence shine. I'm Gwen Young, Chief Operating Officer of Women Business Collaborative. And for those of you that don't know, WBC is an unprecedented alliance of over 75 women business organizations and hundreds of business leaders, building a movement to achieve equal position, pay, and power for all women in business. Through collaboration, advocacy, action, and accountability, we are mobilizing thousands to create momentum and accelerate the pace of change. This webinar is part of our series of best practices to advance women's leadership. It falls under our Women in Technology initiative, which today just launched our Women Corporate Tech Executives in America report, which shows where women are in the C-suite across all industries. But today we have speaker Gail Mercer McKay, who is the chief storyteller at Mercer McKay Digital Storytelling, which is ranked as one of the top 100 best companies to work for in Canada. And as the creator of Mercer McKay Digital Storytelling, Gail and her team help business executives establish a thought leadership communications plan and then execute on that plan to drive digital connections and engagement across LinkedIn. I'm going to turn it over to Christine Bongard, a key partner and leader in the Women Business Collaborative. She is president of the WIT Network, and she's going to kick off today's conversation. Christine, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Gwen. Thanks for having us here. So yeah, I'm one of the committee members for the Women in Tech Initiative with the WBC. And our purpose is to, try to provide educational opportunities for women in the technology industry to help bolster, their career, help them to aspire to a more leadership role or, other management roles within their company. And also to try to bring technology opportunities to this community of women as well. I am one of the co-founders, along with Gail Mercer McKay, of the WIT Network. And the WIT Network is a global network of over 9,000 members in 76 countries, all coming together to network, to mentor, coach, educate, train women in the technology industry. I've known Gail, probably about 15, 20 years now, and it is my true pleasure to introduce her and to present her to the WBC community. She is a true advocate for women from very, very early on, really doing anything she can to help other people, help women, coach women, mentor women, lift women up. And you always want somebody like that in your pocket. And I'm grateful to Gail as not only a personal friend, but a business mentor as well. She's an entrepreneur. She has grown, her digital marketing company has grown tenfold since I've known her. She's a great leader to her team, to her customers. She just has such a great influence in the technology industry, not only through her skills as a digital storyteller, but also her leadership and her coaching ability. So you're in for a real treat. Today, she's going to talk to you about personal branding, and she just has some really, really great information on this for everybody. So I know you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, Gail, thanks for joining us today. We're really looking forward to your session, and I'll couple of things. If you want to put in the chat where you're calling in from today, we always love to, see where people are in the world that are joining us. So please do that. There's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom panel. While Gail's chatting, if you have a question, something pops up and you're like, hey, put the question in there. I'll be monitoring that, and we'll either take your question live or we'll do it at the end. And wanted to let you know this is being recorded, and you will receive an email after the session with a copy of Gail's deck, as well as a link to the recording. So you have all this material to follow up with you when we're done with the session. So with that, Gail, take it away.
Oh, thanks so much, Christine. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the WBC for inviting me to do this today and bringing me here. And thanks to everyone for giving up your time. I hope this is useful for you. So, Christine was right. I've known Christine for about 15 years. And I remember when I first met her, I was sitting at a table in the Microsoft offices in Seattle. And I said, how do you post on Facebook? like, how do you put a comment on? I was terrified of social media at the time, and I had no personal branding strategy. I had no online strategy. And Christine was one of the first people to share her knowledge with me and get me over that little hump of how do you do this and how do you not look like an idiot? And then the other thing that I want to applaud you for is just all the cheerleading you've done for me along the way. You know, Christine is an amazing cheerleader, as you know, all women should be to all women. And there is a great Zig Ziglar quote that I love, which is, you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. And so hopefully today I'm going to help some of you get what you want in life. That's what today's all about. So if you want to put in the chat, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here in a second. If you want to put in the chat, what do you want to get out of today? Like, why are you here? What do you want to learn today? What's the one thing that you hope you take away today? I'd really be interested in seeing that. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen and get my push screen. And let me see. That is not the right thing. This is what we want. And hopefully people are going to be able to see this as I figure out Zoom and how Zoom works and move this. Can everybody see this? You can give me a thumbs up, or you can.
Yeah, it's a little bit to the slide. I think you have to change your presentation mode. Go up.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me do new share. I'm going to go basic. I'm not going to go advanced. Let me say basic.
Yeah, while you're doing that, a lot of people are writing in, being able to create my personal brand.
Okay.
Why is personal branding even important?
Okay, good.
How to keep people engaged.
Cool.
Creating my own personal brand and translating my in-person shine to online. I love
Okay,
that.
perfect.
That's
This is
great.
perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit about the why you want to do this. So for that question, why do I even want to do a personal brand? And then the how. And I've got 5 exercises in here. So you're not going to be able to complete all 5 exercises in the time that we have, but when you get the deck afterwards, you can take those exercises, go through them, and then you will have everything you need to start positioning yourself as an expert in your field, how you wish to be positioned from a personal brand perspective, how you want the world to see you, how you want to be positioned. That's really what we're going to do. And we use LinkedIn as the format for doing it. Everything you learn here, you'll be able to take and apply to other platforms, any other social platform you can, and you can apply to what you blog about, where you speak, where you're invited, conferences you attend. So it can be a whole foundation for you in terms of how you're building that personal brand. So let me just move through here. This is me, but Christine already talked about me. But when you get the deck, you'll definitely have ways to get in touch with me if you need to. And so we've already covered kind of the why are you here. And by the way, if you have any additional questions, Christine's going to be actively monitoring the Q&A. We can take some of them at the end, but if it's appropriate, she'll interrupt me and we'll take a question through. We can make it a little bit interactive. And then as I mentioned, I always really like it if people finish this presentation and feel like you've got hard steps, tactical steps that are easy for you to do, that you can say, I can follow those steps, put it into practice and get started. So I wanted to be a little bit of theory and some practical application. So let's talk about what a personal brand is. It's really, how you show up in the world. What do people think of the moment they see you or the moment they come across you? And I picked 3 pictures of people that are probably familiar to all of us. And so, the moment you look at those pictures, you probably already have in mind what they stand for. You've got a little bit of, who is this person and what do they represent? And, if I look at these pictures, for me, when I look at Obama, I think of a leader. I think of a natural leader. I think of somebody who has strong principles. That's the brand that is in my mind around Obama. When I look at Elton John, I think of entertainer, and I also think of philanthropist. You know, like initially that's where his brand was, but then as he's gained momentum, as he's gained expertise, he's helped young people, he's donated to charity, and even now he's beginning to build a bit of a brand as a father. So that's kind of what comes to mind with Elton John. You know, I've put the Queen up there because she's been in the headlines a lot lately with her passing, but her brand was very simple. It was one word, it was service. You know, her whole brand was known around service. So when you begin to build that personal brand, it allows you to position yourself in the community. I'm not saying that all of us are going to be as famous as a Obama or an Elton or a Queen Elizabeth or an Oprah or a Kardashian. But what we want to do is be able to position ourselves in the community and the ecosystem that we're living and thriving in. And, you know, the other thing about building a personal brand that we find is true over and over again is that even executives, when we work with executives, they have an imposter syndrome. And I don't know how many people here feel like you've got a little bit of an imposter syndrome, or you're feeling a little bit hesitant about positioning yourself or positioning your brand. But if you go through the steps, the actual steps help you ditch your imposter syndrome so that you feel a lot more confident and comfortable about who you are and what you're representing online. And you obviously want to control that narrative. You know, when I started my company 15 years ago, I Googled myself, and what came back was not very interesting. It had nothing to do with marketing. There was a couple of articles that I'd been quoted in. There was, you know, some previous jobs that showed up, and none of it came together in the kind of role that I was embarking on now, which was I wanted to be a marketing expert in the Microsoft ecosystem. And so I realized that I already had a brand, and but that brand was not a brand that was going to take me anywhere. And so you already have a brand. We all already have a brand. And what does that brand say about you? You know, when you look at yourself, is it something that pops out to your mind? Is it pops to the mind of the audience? When they look at you, when they see what you post on LinkedIn, when they stumble across you on Facebook, if they see you at a conference, you know, how is your brand setting you up? What is your brand doing for you while you're sleeping? Because that's really what you want to do. You've got a digital footprint. You want that digital footprint to be working for you when you're not working. When you're out bike riding or canoeing or having Thanksgiving dinner with your family next week, that brand can still be working for you. You know, this is a really interesting woman that I adore, and I had a chance to work with her early in our career as a company, and she said, I don't need a personal brand, and I don't even need really to do much on LinkedIn or on social, because all people do is reach out to me looking for jobs. And but she said, but I feel like I need to master the 21st century communication skills. I need to master the art of social so that I understand it better and I can be a better leader. So I said, okay, and we walked her through the same exact program that I'm going to share with you today. And she began following that process. And within 6 months, she called me and she said, I'm really shocked. She said, I had a call today from a gentleman, and he said, you don't know me, but I've been following you on LinkedIn. I liked your posts. I think our values align. And we need to build 12 new data centers. We have an RFP going out, and your name isn't on it. Your company's name isn't on it. Is that what you do? And she said, that's exactly what we do. And he said, well, I would like to add you to the RFP. And so she and her company were added to the RFP. They won that business. They won those 12 new data centers. And she said, the interesting thing is, in fact, she recently moved to another company not that long ago. And the way she moved there was she got on a plane. She was flying somewhere. The gentleman who sat beside her happened to glance over and see her name on her ticket or whatever and said, oh my goodness, it's you. He said, I follow you. I've seen your posts on LinkedIn, and I am looking for a new chief revenue officer. I'd like to talk to you about it. And that's how she got that job. So that's really the whole goal of this, is it allows you to build connections with people that you are going to help and who are going to help you as you position yourself in your own area of expertise. So the platform that we're going to learn how to use it on first is LinkedIn. And the reason we're going to do it on LinkedIn is because LinkedIn really is the top business networking site. It's not like any other social platform. It doesn't behave like any other social platform. It really is the business platform for us, especially in North America, but it's a global phenomenon as well. It's used all around the world. And it allows you to establish yourself, to set up exactly and control exactly your look and feel and what your conversations are about. And it really allows you to connect with other people that you want to do business with. As I mentioned before, you can take the rules of your personal brand that you build, and you can apply them to Instagram or to Facebook or to other social sites, and you can apply them to where you want to show up as a speaker or as a conference attendee or whatever you want to do. But in terms of establishing your footprint, this is where we're going to start. So, I don't think there's a lot of gray pictures. There are still some, we still see some of people that don't pay a lot of attention to their LinkedIn presence. But the main thing that I want you to think about, and that we often come into when we're beginning to work with people, is they treat their presence on LinkedIn like a resume. They make it all about themselves. They make it about their work experience. They make it really about job, almost like they're hunting for a job. And so that is not really what LinkedIn is about. LinkedIn is really about how are you going to serve the people that are in your ecosystem. It is all about how can you serve them and how can you help them through your expertise. The other thing around LinkedIn is we see a lot of people who just treat it like a place to just post, like, share. That is going to cannibalize you. You are going to get flagged as a spammer on LinkedIn, and your actual posts are going to get reduced quite a bit. So what you want to do is you want to have a strategy on how often you post and what you say, and everything needs to be about common topics, related topics, and in a manner that doesn't cannibalize you. And in fact, if you want to try it and you can see it, if you post in a morning and then post again in an afternoon, watch that second post, you'll have almost no views on it. Look at the numbers. There'll be almost no views on it because LinkedIn's not sharing it out with anybody. It's kind of suppressed there. So if you have a crummy post in the morning and a really great post in the afternoon, that great afternoon post doesn't get seen by anybody. When you think about your brand, you really want to tell a story. You want to engage people in who you are and the story of how you got there and what you're doing and how you're helping people. And, so I picked Oprah first because, well, I love Oprah, but also because, it's really easy to see how she's sharing her story. You've got that banner. She has the banner beside her picture, and she's got the hands, which really talk about how her focus on serving the world. And then she has an amazing LinkedIn picture, and I know you probably looked amazing at your brother's wedding when you had your makeup done, but sometimes there's a plunging neckline or there's a person holding a cocktail glass in the background. So you really do want to have a specific LinkedIn picture that aligns to your brand. If your brand is not, I attend a lot of weddings with people with cocktail glasses in the background, don't put that up as a picture. If your brand is, I'm a serious business leader, then you want to have that serious business leader welcoming, open invitation, but you want to have that serious business leader approach. So then I shared a brand profile of another friend of mine, Lee Howard, who I like a lot. And, he is positioning himself as a digital transformation champion. So he's in the technology space and he's done similar things to Oprah. He picked a banner. Well, his brand is he wants to be seen as a leader. So what do you think he had? He had a great shot of him on stage, his name up there. And you can really see there, here's a guy who is commanding a room, who has leadership presence. We did a banner one time for a leader at IBM who really wanted to be seen as, somebody who is influencing legislation, influencing a lot of thought leadership in the tech space and forward thinking. So we had a similar banner. We had him on stage, but on the left where you see all these little dots for behind Lee, we actually had a picture of the Capitol building in Washington. So, you kind of look at how are you combining pictures to tell your story. And then you've got this great headshot. You've got the title. So this is your short story. So your title is not your title of your job where you work. It is your story in a very short format. And then we've got the about section, which we're going to talk a little later. This is your story. This is a really important part of your LinkedIn profile and your personal branding profile. Are there any questions I need to take right now, Christina? Are we doing well?
No, we're doing well so far.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with the personal brand statement. So if you've got pen and paper beside you, you can actually do this now. If not, you can wait and we can you can do it later. But the first exercise is you want to pick the 5 words that best describe how you want to be seen in the world. And we probably know that almost all those words you'd like to be seen by all those words, but you're only going to pick 5. And so you've got to focus on what are the 5. So pick the 5 that come to you the fastest and the most. If a word jumps to you that isn't on this list, you can add it. But again, stick to 5 words. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to think a little bit about that. Great, we'll move on. So you take your words and you build a brand statement in your words. So if I took my 5 words, it would be leader, visionary, quality driven, innovator, and inspiring. So those are the five top words for me. And by the way, you can go back and change your words if you felt too pressured or you thought one of the words is wrong. There's no rules around this. This is your personal brand statement. And over time, you may go back and redo this exercise. So I've done this exercise 3 or 4 times in my 15-year career here, and it's changed slightly every single time. So as I evolve and mature and change focus, this changes a little bit too. But you take these words and you build a brand statement. And so here is my brand statement. In my professional life, I want to be known as a visionary in the world of digital marketing for my clients. An innovator who combines leading edge technology, great ideas, amazing people, and an ability to weave messages into stories to build digital connections. When others work with me, they can expect to feel confident that they're working with a strong and knowledgeable leader who is invested in their success. Now, the first time I did my brand statement and I read it out loud, I actually felt way more confident about who I was. And it helped me ditch my imposter syndrome. And when you go through this exercise and actually build out this brand statement, I know that exactly the same thing is going to happen to you. You are going to feel more confident. And I think, Christine, have we gone through this exercise, you and I?
Yes, I loved it.
And did you feel like it helped you ditch your imposter syndrome?
Yeah. I was just saying, like, it gave me a feeling, of confidence and pride and just helped me even like thinking through how I would introduce myself in conversations with people on LinkedIn. I loved it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is now we're starting to build a framework. Remember when I first came to you 15 years ago and went like, how do I post on Facebook? How do I post on LinkedIn? But I also didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know what to post. And so now we're beginning to build your framework of your brand. Now we're starting to put the walls around what you are going to talk about, what you are going to post on these areas to be seen as a leader in those areas. So here is the actual framework. So you want to start with how you want to be known. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to use this exact framework if the world of and the who and the others to become don't quite fit in your sentence. But it's a good start. The second paragraph is about other people. When others work with me, this is what will happen to them when they work with me. So the first paragraph is about you, how you want to be known and seen. And the second paragraph is about others. How are others going to have a better life, a better experience because they're working with you? So this is going to be the first exercise. Now, for those of you who frantically took screenshots of all this, that's fine that you did, but you are going to get this full deck to use. If for any reason the deck doesn't come through to you, or you get stuck, I put my contact is, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm gail@mercermckay.com, and you can email and make sure that you get this deck, because you're going to need this to follow the steps and work through. So that's exercise 1. Now, your personal brand statement is not going to go anywhere. You're not going to post this on LinkedIn. You're not going to actually give this to anybody. You may put it on a sticky note and have it inside a drawer so you read it every morning before you start the day. You could put it on your mirror. I would recommend for the first month, put it on the mirror in your bathroom, read it out loud to yourself every single day so you know who you are and what you stand for. It makes you feel really good about starting the day.
Gail,
Gail,
I just wanted to, I was going to say that somebody recently said to do that, to put a sticky note on your computer with like your top 3.
Yeah.
And it also helps you when you're trying to navigate what you want to share, like go to that list.
Yes.
You say, these are the top 5 things I want my brand associated with. Then when you're going to share something out, write an intro statement to what you're sharing that correlates to your brand, those adjectives that are your brand.
Yeah.
And that's how I think you begin to, people start associating with, like, let's say leadership was one of them, and you tie in your leadership theory, people start to see a theme with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. In fact, that's I don't know if is that the next exercise that we're going to do? Let me just see.
Oh, sorry.
Let me see. That's all right. Yes, here it is. Exercise 2, create your 4 themes. It can be 4 themes. It can be 3 themes. It can be 5 themes. But typically I like 4. And so the themes are, the walls. They're the walls in your house. So your personal brand statement, you put up the walls of the house. The themes are the walls inside your house. There's a living room, there's a kitchen, there's a bathroom. So if you look at some common themes that we see in the executives who work at leadership, every single one says leadership. If you're building a brand statement, you probably want leadership as one of your themes or one of your pillars. And this is really vague. Be seen as a leader, promote and align to leadership trends and ideas, engage online with others who are interested in leadership. You may, that's great. That's a great start. You may want to even get more specific. You may say, be seen as a leader in the world of driving gender equality and pay equity. So you may be really specific around where you want to be seen as a leader. And then because we're in the technology space, we often work with leaders who want partner transformation. They're selling through channels. So we're talking about, how are we helping partners be more successful in their business? Customers, again, the world of technology, everybody is transforming in technology these days. So business transformation is often a theme that we see in our technology executives. And then ethical technology is another theme. But often you will have as your 4th theme something very personal. You may go with, I am committed to STEM in high school, and I am all about making sure that there is access and awareness and education for young girls in high school so that they do not opt out of technology as a way forward, as a path forward. Or it could be, I'm passionate, footballer. So I love Notre Dame. I'm going to use LinkedIn to talk about Notre Dame football. And if you follow a guy named Tom Mendoza, who I know, he's actually built his whole network around Notre Dame football. So he has leadership and other things in there, but his biggest passion is Notre Dame football. And he's made amazing connections. And they've turned into great business connections for him because he's found other great leaders who love Notre Dame and they just love to celebrate the wins and talk about their decisions. And so it could be your 4th pillar could be highly personal to you. So don't stray away from personal, because part of your personal brand strategy is to make a 2-dimensional experience, digital, into a 3-dimensional experience. You want people to really see you as a person and to be able to connect to you personally. So then the next exercise is just to go through, now that you've got your personal brand statement and you think about where you want to be seen, is to pick a theme and to pick a description for that theme or for that pillar. So, then it's now that you've got the themes and the pillars, now you want to start to think about, well, what are you going to post on? What are you going to talk about if you're talking about leadership, or if you're talking about transformation, or you're talking about gender equity, or whatever those themes are? Start to borrow the brand of others. So start to align, where are my sources? Where's the content I want to get? And look at all the different things that speak to you. I'm a big fan personally of Harvard Business Review. I love a lot of their articles. I love their research. I frequently call on Harvard and will talk to things I've read in Harvard Business Review in some of my posts. Then you want to start thinking about books or methods. And methods are, ways that you maybe approach sales if you're in a sales career, ways that you approach leadership, ways that you develop better habits, ways that you empower people. So there's lots of methodologies that many of us subscribe to. And so we can introduce that. You don't want too many, but you want the few that really speak to you. And then finally, you want to think about the people or the analysts that you follow in your industry. So the people that you're aligned to in your industry. I look at Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. And I don't think that by following him on LinkedIn and commenting positively on his posts, that he's ever going to want to reach out and talk to me. But what I find is that I connect with other people in the Microsoft ecosystem, which is the ecosystem I live in, just because I follow Satya. I make comments on Satya. And so it's the same with many of the other people that I follow. I've got pretty much brand names there. Gabriella Schuster's probably new to most of you, but she is a friend to the WIT network and a friend to Microsoft partners. So she's been helpful to me, and I follow her, and I have a personal connection with her that she's been great to follow and to get content from. But you may list, there may be other people in here that aren't well known in the world, but they're well known in your world. And those are people that you want to quote, that you want to reference, and you want to promote their work so that they can get what they want. So the third exercise is to create your LinkedIn title. And that is where I pointed out for Lee Howard, you want to tell your story in a single sentence. You also want to try and include searchable words. So if you want to be a speaker in your industry, you should put the word speaker in that sentence. Anything that you want people to be able to find you for, make sure it is in that Uber title. And so here's a friend of mine, Lucy. Lucy's actually happily retired now. So she was at NetApp, but she's happily retired. And so when she changed her title, she wanted to be known as an alliance expert. So connecting NetApp to the people and partners who matter for customers. So this was really important. This was her story. So her old title was, she had account executive, and then this is what she changed it to, so that people could see immediately how Lucy could help them. But then the second example I have is Daryl Keyser, who is a colleague who has his own marketing firm. So he's got founder of Candybox and Launch 48, two of his companies. He's got digital marketer, and he's got keynote speaker. And instead of doing it in a sentence, what he's done is he's broken it with bars between each section. So that's another way of doing your title. If how you want to be known does not lend itself to one full sentence, you can break it into boxes like that. So that's just an idea. And so the third exercise is for you to create your unique LinkedIn title. You can edit it, you can change it anytime you want. It's really interesting. A friend of mine who's being recruited for a really senior position right now said, this happened because I changed my LinkedIn title. He said, I went and added in business development into my title, and recruiters found me, and this company found me. I wasn't even looking for a job. And so by modifying it with a searchable term in the area that he was in, he was able to be picked up and connected, and is now on track to get, in his words, his dream job. So that would be great. And that's what you want your personal brand to do for you. So then exercise 4 is your LinkedIn summary. And this is where a lot of people make a mistake, where they actually do a bio. So they actually talk about, I did this and I did that, and I'm an expert in, I'm an expert in marketing, and I have achieved this, and I've worked at this company. They think it's their resume. It is not. Your LinkedIn summary which shows up really high in your LinkedIn profile and with a little more after it, is really about how you serve others. So this is where you've got that opportunity to connect one-on-one. And normally what I find is people that reach out to me on LinkedIn that I want to connect with have read this summary, have aligned to something in the summary and in my posts, and then I've referred that in the connection request. You know, I read this and I really love what you've done, or I really love your volunteer experience. I really love the writing things that you've done. I'm really feeling, I feel strong in that way too, and I want to do that as well. So, you know, Lee's done, this is Lee's, I pulled Lee's out, but, you know, he talks about the challenges with digital transformation. And so he kind of opens with that because he's looking for people who are facing challenges and who are feeling it's complex. So he opens with that. He moves into his time in the Army. Well, that is going to bring great alignment. It's going to build immediate trust with a lot of people, and it's going to gain great alignment. And then he moves into his next passion, which is service, serving others. And so again, now you're starting to really warm up. And then he goes back to the Army again, but he brings in communication, you know, the importance of communication, and then really talks about, you know, how he cares about outcomes, and ends up with a call to action. So it is, here's who I am. I'm really all about you. I'm all about helping you solve problems. I've got a lot of I learned this because I was of service to my country. And I really would love you to join me in this, or see how I can help you. How can I help you in this? People first champion. So this is now my LinkedIn summary. So I open with the fact that I'm an entrepreneur and I have a passion for storytelling. And then I talk about, you know, the challenge of content-based marketing and where people are having challenges with that. I move into service. I talk a lot about that. It was my mom and dad that really taught me and honed that at a young age. And then I talked about how I work with incredible people. And then we already talked about my Zig Ziglar quote, but this is our, you know, this is our North Star. This is my personal North Star. So this is really a way that a lot of people connect with me and engage with me and reach out, and we get started with a conversation. So the framework for this, if you need a framework, and this is what we recommend, paragraph 1, introduce yourself. Paragraph 2, talk about how you solve problems for people and who you solve problems for. Then reinforce that, you know, with either an accomplishment or a highlight, you know, align yourself to the Army if you served in the Army, or talk about, you know, how you have been, you know, given a foundation of service. And then maybe talk about some other interests. If you like to golf or play the guitar, or what you like to do, and end with a call to action or a quote. So that's the framework that you can follow when you're working on this. Yes.
There's a question. Is the
Yeah.
LinkedIn summary the same as the about section?
Yes. Yes. It is the about section. Yeah. Thanks. They probably used to call it summary, and I probably haven't updated. So, exercise 5, the 5th exercise. So now you need to start to talk about, who do you want to know? Who do you want to connect with? Who do you want to engage with? And we all know that if you write people's down, if you write your goals down, I think there's a lot of studies at different amounts, but something like, if you write your goals down, you're a 90% higher chance of achieving your goals. And I'm a big believer in that. You know, when I was a little nothing and didn't think I would ever have a company, you know, and I wrote down, I want to be $1 million company, you know, that was my thing. And so, you know, when we achieved that, then I changed that to something else. So when you write things down, you're more likely to get them. So after you've done all this, you sit back, and this is not done in a day. This is done, you know, over time, and you may have a few Sunday mornings over coffee where you add to it. But think about places you want to work, people you want to know, people you want to have as customers, people you'd like to build relationship with. And you can name the company. And then once you've named the company, you can look at the individuals in that company that you want to know. And then you can begin to follow those people. You can start to follow them. You can start to comment on their posts. Don't stalk them. Don't try to sell them anything. Build a relationship. You know, if I think, you know, when I go to a trade show, for example, if I go to a show, a technology show or any kind of a show, and you go and you walk into a bar and you sit down at a bar and somebody sits down beside you, the first thing I don't say the first thing is, do you want to buy a watch? You know, hey, do you want to buy a watch? I say, who are you and why are you here? Why did you come to the conference? And what are you hoping to get out of it? And then you get talking with people. And it's the same thing with this LinkedIn, with the way you approach people. Everything you do, you think about, how am I going to help this person get their post in front of more people? How can I show that this person is interesting and smart? And you want to show that they're interesting and smart because you want to know them. You want to know those people. You want to get to know those people. And you wouldn't want to get to know them if you didn't think they weren't interesting and smart. So here's an example of, one of my friends, Chaitra Vettapalli, who, was awarded Business World 2022, Women Creating Waves in Business. Everybody, she's got a huge network, and everybody had like, and the comments were, great job, well deserved, blah, blah, blah. So I went on and said, hey, congratulations. Here is the impact you've made. This is why you've got this award. I know that you've made this impact. So now I'm helping her further her mission. I'm adding value to the conversation. And so this is how you think about, of course, there's going to be times when you just hit a like, or just a quick, well-deserved. But if you can, tell people, engage with them, ask them questions, say, I can't believe you achieved this, or I can believe you achieved this. You're so amazing. Can you tell me what's the top thing that you did that made you so successful this year? So engage in questions, use that kind of thing. And you don't have to do it very much. Just have to set aside, 20 minutes once or twice a week to go through and make some comments on the people that you want to build better connections with. So your brand checklist for LinkedIn is the banner. What is that banner going to be? And if you're not sure how to create a banner, you can go to Fiverr and you can get a graphic designer on Fiverr to create the banner for you. I think LinkedIn's got very specific size that they need, but yeah, you can do that. You can get your photo. And by the way, and it's not in here, I don't think I put it in here, photofeeler.com, PHOTOFEELER, photofeeler.com is a free site that you can upload your LinkedIn photo to, and people will vote on it. And you'll get votes for free, and you'll find out from that if you're seen as trustworthy, if you're seen as dependable, if you're seen as honest. And typically what I've done with my own LinkedIn headshots is I upload 3 different headshots and I get them to vote on all. And if you vote on other people's, you get credits, and then you can get people to vote on for free, or you can pay. And I think it costs $40 or something to get like 200 votes on your picture. So that's the other way to use photofeeler.com. And you will be surprised. The picture that you thought was the greatest often will come back and say, not very trustworthy, or low percentage numbers for easy to do business with, or whatever the categories are for business. So it really does serve you well to upload the pictures and have that data-driven approach, that voting system on it. So you get your LinkedIn headshot. Your title is your story that shows right under your name. This is the About You section. The summary is the About You section. And then now that you have your framework, you should be posting twice a week, just twice a week, no more than that. You don't need to post any more than that. You can comment on others more often than that, but your actual posts should be about 2 a week, and probably 2 paragraphs max. You can have a thought leadership post in two paragraphs, and make sure it's about one topic. So don't try to cram a million ideas into one post. Pick one idea, comment on one idea, and then you begin to build that personal brand and that experience. And your actual resume is your experience section way down below. Just make sure it's current. Don't worry too much about it, but keep it current. Let me see. So the next steps for you is to, yes.
We have a question.
Yes.
Christina, I see your hand is up. I don't know if you want to, I don't know if you're able to come off of mute and ask your question.
Yeah, I don't know how to unmute, but maybe.
Or Christina, maybe type your question in the chat section or in the Q&A section. Okay, she took her hand down. Okay, thanks, Gail. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Do we have other questions? Do we have other questions? Because now we are basically at the end. My recommendation is once you get the PowerPoint, if this appeals to you, if you go, this is easy. In fact, I'm going to ask that question. Did you think that this is giving you steps and a framework, a usable framework for you to follow? I'm going to pull up the chat now. So, okay, good. So people are saying, yes, this is helpful. Awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
was the
somebody said they
site-
were going to change it to share it with their daughter, which I thought was excellent. Like the idea about the keywords,
Yes. Yeah.
which I think is lovely. And there is a question though about should you post a blog link to your website?
So yeah, so here's the thing. LinkedIn doesn't like links to other places. So what we've recommended is if you want to post to a blog, put your comment in saying, hey everybody, I wrote a great blog on I wrote a blog about STEM. I wrote a blog about how to reach young girls in high school. And I'm going to be, posting the link to it in the comments below, and then comment on your own post and put the link in the comments below. So, so this is, oh, good. I'm so glad. So Jennifer Smith said, can you elaborate on suggestions for themes? So, I mean, the themes really come down to you, Jennifer, in terms of how you want to be perceived. So, for example, if you are working in a large organization and you love that organization and you want to stay and you want to grow your career in that organization, you might want to be seen as, I'm going to give you an example, an intrapreneur. So an entrepreneur is somebody who is innovative, can build consensus, can generate new ideas in an organization, as opposed to an entrepreneur that's doing that on their own outside the organization. So that could be one area you might want to be seen, or you might want to be seen as, a creative. You might say, I feel I'm very creative. I don't think people in my company understand how creative I am. So that could be one of your themes. You want to talk about creativity, and you might say, I want to talk about creativity from the area of how businesses can be more creative, how businesses can attract more customers through creativity, how businesses can enable internal people to develop and evolve more through creativity. So you could say one of my themes is going to be creativity. So that's just a couple of ideas. I don't know if that's helpful, if there's something else that you want to know. Jean Rene said, how do I differentiate my current job position title from the title I would like to sell to the public? Well, one of the good things is that people don't police titles on LinkedIn. And a lot of times people modify their work title to be more reflective of how they want to be seen. And so an example is, somebody who is a partner account manager has changed their job title on LinkedIn to be channel chief. And so it's kind of in the same ballpark. And then they put a little descriptor, underneath it that says, in my role here, I make sure that all of our partners are getting the most out of our programs. I innovate with them. So you can look at taking and this comes down in your actual experience section. This is not up in the Uber title, the story. So you can actually, modify those titles that are down there to position you as that leader. If you are, and then in your actual Uber story, I would use the bar chart idea. And you can always reach out to me, by the way, one-on-one on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to reach out to me with specific questions after this, please feel free to. But that's where you could have your job role. Say, if you were, for example, a business analyst, you could have, business analyst / innovator / creative writer / and keynote speaker for women in tech or something like that. So you could use the slash to really broaden yourself. And but yeah, if that doesn't answer it for you, again, if anybody needs a one-on-one, just reach out to me and I can talk to you.
Yeah,
about
I
those
look at it like
one-on-one.
the
Yeah.
Uber title
Yeah.
is like who you are in the world, like who you are in the industry, which can be bigger and broader than your job title that you have
Yeah.
with your employer.
Yeah.
So kind of separate it, right? Like in the employment section, you can have your current job and your title, but your
Yeah.
Uber title is like, well, who you are as a professional,
Yeah, who
in the
you are as a
industry.
professional, exactly. But I am seeing that even in your job title, nobody's policing it, and people are getting creative with that too.
Okay.
Because often what happens in your career is you get boxed in. You become an account manager and you can't break out of that role. You can't break out of that account manager role. Or in our industry, in technology, what I hear from women in technology is, I'm in marketing and technology. I want to move into sales, and nobody wants to give me a shot in sales, and so they get a little bit creative in their title, just to get past the recruiters, because there's a lot of walls that stop you from getting the interview, getting the meeting. And so you can get creative in your job title as well. And also point out some of your accomplishments as opposed to your functional role. So sometimes your accomplishments, really, people go, oh, they did this and they did this and they did this. That's kind of what we're looking for. And in fact, that's exactly the story I told about my friend, added biz dev, because biz dev was never in this person's title at all, or even in their functional job description, but they were actually doing a lot of biz dev.
Yeah.
So they
And that's
put
a big
biz dev
buzzword.
in. It's a huge buzzword. It's a searchable term. So they got a great opportunity. And
Okay.
yeah.
We have another question in the Q&A. It says,
Okay.
what is the thinking behind the strategy of confining posts to 2 times a week?
So just so you don't be seen as a spammer. So, if you get on there and you're just posting all the time and you don't seem to have a lot of interaction with it, LinkedIn will penalize you as a spammer and you'll have less people showing you. So it's almost like a little bit of a less is more as well. You really focus on, you have something important to say, you're going to say it a couple of times a week, and you're not showing up all the time in people's feeds, and LinkedIn's not going, this person is boring, they're saying the same thing and not in a very interesting way. And then they're just going to penalize you. Sonia said, you do have to be careful on titles because of the organization. Sometimes it's frowned upon. I would agree with that, Sonia. I think it depends on your organization. I think there are some that really are structured, and probably government is a lot like that, but maybe not as much private sector. So yeah, I would agree with that, Sonia.
Yeah, it's probably in like HR, your HR handbook.
Yeah.
And Christina asks, what are the examples that we can use for branding? I'm not sure I get that. Does that click for you?
So examples using for branding. So I think what you mean is, how would I build out my banner, and in that branding, can you unmute? Is there a way we can unmute anybody?
I don't think so, because it's a webinar. I think it's a Zoom webinar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe either you can elaborate, Christina, or you can reach out to me. Are you asking for other people? Like if you wanted to look at some people online?
Yeah,
Is that
maybe
what you're
we'll have
asking?
Christina connect with you afterward.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can look at my LinkedIn post online. You could, or you can look at other leaders. So if you go to LinkedIn and start searching some of the leaders, like I had Oprah in there, there's Satya Nadella, but senior leaders at some organizations, particularly if they're in the area that you want to be in, look at how they're branding themselves online on LinkedIn. And if you don't like what you see, then throw that one out and look for somebody else. Go and look for some, again, people that are in your space, in your industry that you admire, and see what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
right,
yeah. Is there anything else? Are we going to wrap it up now?
I think we can wrap it. Let me just check. See if there's a new one in here. Oh, okay. Christina said she understood what you
Oh,
were
good, good,
posting.
good. Okay, okay, great.
Yeah. No, good. I think we can go to wrap up, and then I can just remind everybody they'll get an email following the webinar from the WBC, and that will have the deck, Gail's deck, as well as a link to the recording for today.
Great.
And Gail, I shared Gail's LinkedIn in the chat. If you want to look for it, you can click there and connect with Gail. And
So
it looks like a lot of people really liked it, Gail. Thank you.
That's great. I'm so glad it was helpful and useful. So this type of training, the templates, all the frameworks that I use today, we've built into a software application called Daxi. It's a marketing membership platform for really technology partners, technology companies. And so my ask to you today is, if you know anybody who's in the tech space who says, I'd love a little bit more help with marketing, or if this is something you're interested, share the link with them, daxi.com, and let them explore and check it out. And would be my ask today. If any of you have that, can share that with anybody, I'd love it. That would be awesome.
Fair enough, Gail.
And then, yeah, that's the end. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.